Now, South Sudan's President Salva Kiir and former rebel leader Riek Machar have agreed to form a unity government. This comes after 6 years of civil war and 2 days before a deadline to implement a power-sharing agreement. Now, South Sudan is the world's newest country and gained independence from Sudan in 2011. 2 years later, civil war broke out after the president, Salva Kiir, sacked the entire cabinet and accused the vice president, a former rebel leader, of instigating a failed coup. Now, the humanitarian fallout from the civil war has caused almost 400,000 deaths. 4 million people have been displaced and more than half of the population are facing severe hunger. In 2018, a power-sharing agreement was signed between the warring parties, but previous agreements have failed, lasting only a few months. Well, joining me to discuss this further is retired Brigadier General Ahmed Mohammed, a senior advisor for defense and security at the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. Thanks for taking time to talk to us on Focus on Africa. The big question, obviously, is whether this agreement, this power-sharing government will hold because of the previous agreements that have not lasted long. With the sticking points, will they be able to hold?
Well, thank you, Sophie. We are looking forward to having this agreement this coming Saturday, and after that, the establishment of the transitional government of national unity. However, there are a number of contentious issues which have not been resolved. And the top of the list is the number of states. We know the states were initially 10, they were built to 32. In the agreement now, there's supposed to be only 10 states. However, we know in the last 1 week, the government has established 3 administrative areas, namely Rowen in Unity State, Pibo in Jonglei, and Abyei, which have been identified as administrative states. These have been rejected by the opposition. Now, second on the list is the issue of the Unified Armed Forces, which should number 83,000. While that is the case, the key issues are the composition of this army, where they're going to do their training, where they will concentrate, and also the issue of command and control. And then third on the list is the issue of boundaries. We know a number of boundaries are contentious. On top of the list is Malakal and Raja. And finally, Sophie, the issue of the security arrangements and control around Juba, which for a long time have remained a problem. We know in the last 2 incidents, that was a big issue. We are talking now of possibly establishing a VIP protection force. That is still pending. We are waiting to see what's going to come out of this, Sophie.
So what happens? What kind of scenario are we looking at if they don't come to agreement on those very important points that you've raised?
What you have seen, Sophie, in the past is that when they don't agree, there's been more like a flare of the conflict again. And we have made very good progress so far. We strongly feel that this time, this agreement should hold. Remember, in 2013, there were issues. 2016, there were issues. 2018, there was an agreement, which is still holding to now. We believe this time around, on Saturday, we should see an agreement, Sophie.
I'm quite curious about the concept of former rebels or former military people taking over power and trying to rule in a civilian way. Is it an easy turn to make, really?
Well, that is quite an issue, Sophie, and we know that in the past, when rebels come to power, they have stayed on. But where there has been the military coming in, they have done 2 things. One is to bring stability and then call for elections, and they give way. In other situations, they come in, they bring stability, call for elections, and then run for the elections and remain in power. Those are all options that we have seen in the past, Sophie.
There's been pressure from outside, from the region, and of course from the United States. Can this country afford not to stay united or not to go through with these agreements now?
Sophie, there has been a lot of international pressure, both regional and international. IGAD, on their part, have done very well so far in trying to push this, this move. The AU, on their part, have equally done a very important role. We know that the USA, the EU, and a number of international actors have come in to intervene. What we feel this time is that the protagonists should really give way. And one of the things to do or consider is to look at limited incentives. Remember, the government of South Sudan is still not fully legitimate in the face of the international community. And for Riek Machar, remember that he's actually on restrictions in terms of movement. If these two can be released a bit, I'm sure they may possibly give in and we'll see the agreement fully signed this time around.
All right, Brigadier General Ahmed Mohamed, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts on this very important subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
Well, let's now take a quick look at other